When you look at baby's eyes, you can see source. They are so enlightened, they are so bright. So there's when it starts. It's around 0 and before 0, and we have lived several lives. So that's all in this little first puppet of the Matryoshka. I also call it the soul puppet.
Yeah.
The moment you see a baby, there's something that you feel an energy. And every baby has already his own sign. Even with the names that you feel that fit with them. We have there the life that we lived, where we owed all things, and where it started. But in between, there are some other puppets. So we have here, between the moment we are born and the moment that we get 7 years old, there is a path between it. So 0, 7, and then we have already our first experiences. And that might be very small things that trigger us.
So welcome Miranda, how are you today?
Thank you Pranav. Yeah, doing well, excited to be here. And
yeah, I think before we start, I'd like to just give a bit of context to our audience. So you are basically a life coach and would like to know what you exactly do.
Yeah, as you said, I'm a life coach already for 25 years now and 22 years in my own company. And I'm working for some big companies in the Netherlands, but also abroad. And personal individuals that come to my path. And most of the time there's a synchronicity in teams that I'm working on or people are working on, and bringing that together. Important teams in life teams, questions, some obstacles, or sometimes how to get more in the flow of life. And that's what I like. I like to study how the mind works, the body works, how it works together with our soul, with our heart, with the things we do in life. And yeah, I love it when people, when things comes together in people and in conversations. That's what I love the most.
In day-to-day life, that's not like a basic skill or something really very normalized, at least these days. In the schools you would find. There are some counselors a lot of times, but what you're doing, I think, helps anyone to probably discuss a lot of things that's going on in their life, and also in the mind, what you mentioned.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Immediately when you say schools, I think, wow, that's the point where it starts. We really have to teach children, or more, they teach us how that really works from the basics. Because little children, they are so in the now, in the present moment. One moment they cry, one moment they laugh, one moment they do their things. And we get so conditioned and programmed in what's happening in life, instead of staying in that present moment. And we can learn that from children, but we also have to teach in life events, when we grow bigger and bigger, how we can handle that in a more secure way for ourselves. We learn so much in schools, and we also need to do that, like languages and math and everything what's going on. But we also need to learn how we are handling our emotions, how our mind works in combination with our body, how our health works. And when we get more aware of how that's really working inside of us, we can give all our gifts to the outside of us. And that's what I'm really passionate about.
What made you to go in this field, or choose it as a profession, let's say?
Yeah.
And what was the moment, that you decided that this really needs the attention?
Yeah. I think it was already when I was born, but that's a joke, because most of the time we don't remember that. But I think already very young in the primary school, I was in some kind of class with a topic from biology, and I got to natural science, and I asked a question. I said, well, in the last hour I had something in biology, and then the teacher said, well, that was in biology, now we are, and I had something like, no, it's all interdependent, it's all connected, it's coming together. And I always see that, and especially for the human body and how it works, like our mind, our body, our health, our soul, our view, our heart, our heartbeat, the things we make, the things we love, how we connect. I think it comes together, and to learn more about how it works inside us, instead of learning biology in the outside version, I think it all starts really inside of us.
I think it's very well said. I always think like that, and I sometimes discuss with people that, you know, the current modern education that we follow, it's a little bit more boxed. It has a different purpose, but it's served more like as different subjects, because there has to be some kind of an outcome which is very true, making you industry ready. Let's say if that is one motive out of it. But yeah, very rightly explained that everything is connected, and if you try to see it differently, there could be, you know, some areas that you would miss.
Yeah, and on the other hand, there are so many humans, so we have all a part of the puzzle. There's no one truth. I know we all come from source, and that energy is always inside of us, around us, but also in the spaces between us, but also in every subject, in every form, in every situation. When we really follow the natural flow of energy that's inside of us, but also outside of us, and we are in a path that is natural fitting, then everything is working out. And most of the time we put obstacles in relationships, in the firms we are working with the money, with the children, with our spouses. And when we really understand what's happening inside of our energy, and we listen to that, everything will work out. But most of the time we get in our minds, and we get in our sorrows, and we get in our anger, or in we get scared, and then we don't use the part of the brain what really helps us to get in a relaxed state, in our gamma state, in our alpha state. Just relax, just following our breath, following our heart coherence. When we do that, everything falls into place. But most of the time we want to control things, and we want to do it perfect, and if this is going to happen then. And you can see it I'm just going away out my straight line. And I'm relaxed, just like here, and breathe in, breathe out. And then my prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that really can focus, can open, get ideas, get the creativity. When I'm in total relaxed state, everything I have entrance to. I can open creativity, I can open ideas, I can listen more profound to what's in me, to what the other person is saying. And bringing that together, it really works. But most of the time, 80% of the time, people are in the back of the brain, and there's the amygdala, and it is about fear, it's about control, it's about competition. And when we are in that state, sometimes it helps us to bring something, but being aware where we are and just bring ourselves back in the state of relaxed. We open our crown chakra, we feel our heart, we feel our breath through our bodies, and we feel that we are sitting in a chair, and we feel the energy around us, we feel the energy between us. And then we connect.
Yeah.
Miracles can happen.
You have already put some basics for today's discussion that we should explore a little bit more.
Yeah.
Before jumping into the details, you mentioned about brain, you mentioned about mind, and more about chakras, awareness. How does if in simple terms one has to start with, I think there is a part of the mind which is always active, and there is one which is you don't realize it's active, but there is. But maybe would you like to throw some light on it before we go into the details?
Yeah.
How is it called and things like that?
Yeah, that's very good to make it very easy. We say it in Dutch, in Jip and Janneke language. That you have the conscious and you have the unconscious mind. And it's already there when we are born, and the mind, the brain has to grow between 0 years old and 24 years. it's the final stage when the brain is okay. So in the secondary school, even between the age of 11, 24, 25, we still have to grow our brains. So there are lots of things are just working out. So when we are in a secondary school and I speak with teachers, I say, oh, they are so loud and they cannot sit on a chair. And then I think, well, that's also not the natural state of being, because they are just growing into their brains and they have to learn all kind of things, and energy wants to flow and not sit down on a chair when we teach things. So we have a conscious state of mind, and happily a lot of things also happen unconsciously. For example, we get all kind of patterns and conditioning. Imagine that you stand up every morning and you need to know how you get to the shower and how you have to learn that every time again. No, they get automatically pattern in it. So we know, I put on this button, do this thing, or go to the shopping store, and I know how it works. And I know how the things work. So the automatical patterns, they are lots of the time they get unconscious. But this is the good thing, that we have some automatical patterns that we repeat a lot of times, it's okay. But when it becomes a problem, when we get patterns from our ancestors or from our parents or our teachers, that we're born out of stress, born out of survival, born out of competition, because I'm afraid that something is going to happen. And then when I adapt or just learn that pattern from someone else, and it gets stored in my body, every time a life situation comes up, I get triggered. And I'm going to react like screaming or holding myself back, and that it feels not relaxed. It feels like I'm imprisoned in what's happening, instead of our free attention. That's the way out. So we will have conscious and unconscious patterns, and the challenge is that every time that we feel that we are kind of prisoned, we get attention to something, like 6 seconds staring at a pencil, and I can hold my attention back, and I get more conscious about, this is running the show, this is the pattern. So there are very little tricks to notice if we are in our conscious or unconscious pattern. And it really helps us. We cannot do that all the time, because during a day there are lots of things are going there, unconscious patterns. I think it's so good to make it very clear and to take some time to really talk about this, because the normal, natural human flow of being and energy, all is energy. That's my first line. All is energy. So we are energy, and everything in our body is energy, everything in the connection is energy, and everything around is energy, and all the forms that we have in life are made of energy. And when we are totally aligned in our own energy, like we are natural born, a natural flow, natural state of being. I always call that when you have traffic light, you're green light. You're feeling relaxed, you feel that you shine, you feel that you are relaxing your body, you feel it in the whole energy, everything is okay, everything will work out. I just feel right now at this moment, I can feel that, also in the connection. That's interesting. But when we get really sometimes excited or stressed, you can see it at my body, because I'm very natural in that also. I just go out of my energy because, that's interesting. That's okay, when we are enthusiastic, or when we get scared, I just get in the middle of my body. Something is just going like this. And at that moment, when I'm not conscious and I'm just acting on it, all kind of other things are happening. A very simple example I always said to people in my coaches, but also in my own life. When I'm stressed and I get out of my house in the traffic, everyone reacts stressed at me. They are just going with the cars like this. And when I'm just like relaxed and just go and it's okay. And all the traffic lights go in the green light. And it also feels like I am on the green light. But when we get the red signs in our life, the red flags, it's like the red traffic light or already orange. We can feel it in our bodies. We can feel it in our breath. We can see it in our eyes. We can feel it in how we express things. If we get more tight in our face. And the only first thing we have to do is just breathe out. And when it is a lot of stress, do it 6 seconds in, keep the breath, 6 seconds out, and just stay there for a while. And immediately the body responds like, oh, it's okay. And take a rest like we do now in the conversation.
Yeah. I can relate to a lot what you said, and thanks for breaking it down in simple words from the real life situations. But even further, you know, like, would you like to put some examples that you came across, you know, where such things happen with people, and maybe some example from your coaching?
Yeah. Can I, and before I do that, can I just introduce my Matryoshka dolls, just to show how that works?
Yeah.
Because it's such a simple method, and then I can put some examples to it and break it more down.
Yeah.
And it's so...
I will bring the Matryoshka dolls.
Yeah.
So this is also
that's interesting.
Live during our conversation.
Yeah, we have we have a 5, but the Matryoshka dolls, that are the dolls that you put in the other doll and the other doll and the other doll. And for example, like, this is me or any other person right now in this present moment. So that's all I have become. It's my ego, it's my patterns, it's my job, it's the family I have, the friends I have, the choices I made, but also my soul is in this, the things that are brought in my family, the country I live in, the cultural patterns, the conditioning, the programming, the study I did. So everything is in here. So this is treasure. There's a lot of it in every person. But then we break it down to something else. We all start like this. It's the human little, the little child, the baby that comes, but it's really very near to source. It's almost source itself. And you look at baby's eyes, you can see source. They are so enlightened. They are so bright. They are so... just connected to what we are all is the source of energy. So there's when it starts. It's around 0 and before 0, and we have lived several lives. So that's all in this little first puppet of the Matryoshka. I also call it the soul puppet. Yeah.
Like a soul with the journey it has went through.
Yeah, before you already came on earth. Yeah. Then there's a sort, that's your soul. And you also can see it when a baby is, there's already energy around it. They are very active, or they're very in rest, or they are just looking around, making a lot of sound. So the moment you see a baby, there's something that you feel an energy. It's very interesting. Just look at babies when you see them, and every baby has already his own sign and its own energy and its own... It's even with the names that you feel that fit with them. It comes with a name. So that's so very interesting. That's all there. So we have there the life that we lived, where we are with all things, and where it started. But in between, there are some other puppets. So we have here, between the moment we are born and the moment that we get 7 years old, there is a path between it. So 0, 7, and then we have already our first experiences. And that might be very small things that trigger us. Especially when it might be very small, like we are brother and sister, we get an ice cream, and the moment that our mother does not look at us, you hit my ice cream, it falls on the ground, and my mother says to me, well, you have to look better for your ice cream. But she does not see that you did it. And I have something like, that's not fair. He did this. And then there in my little something like, the world is not fair. And when it happens all the time, I get something with, he did it, and I always get the blame. So there's a kind of pattern existing in my mind and in the amygdala that every time that something is happening, I just kind of like, someone is going to blame me and I did nothing. That's an unconscious pattern.
Yeah.
That's also when it happens, not only with one ice cream, but when it happens certain times in families there are patterns, then the child may make very young child decision. And it can even be more severe. When I lose as a young child one of my brothers or sisters, and I really have to mourn about this, and I really notice that all the people around me are very sad or upset or stressed or not available anymore because of that, then it will do something with me. Or a parent is alcoholic or has other severe disease, and all the energy goes there in a pattern. And even cultural things, like the world right now, that children on a very young age are in war in several places on Earth. It really has impact on our patterns, on our stress levels, on our way to relax. So some children or persons or human are already from the start of their life got in a stressed level in orange or red situations. Yeah. And then it feels like that's our normal pattern, but it isn't.
It sort of lives like a trauma in you.
Yeah, we call it trauma, and that sounds as a severe word, but trauma for me is a situation happened, it gets somewhere stored at the body, and it's not going in the right part of the brain. So normally it comes like waves, it comes and it goes. But when it's trauma, it really stores in the body. And every time a situation comes up like that, my body is reacting if it's happening again. And then we call it trauma. Yeah. And that is already happening very early in time. And it even can be a trauma that my mother or my father or my grandmother or even 7 lines before, and I store that even in my body. Sometimes I get people at my coaching table and I said, I feel that heaviness all my life, but I have got the feeling that it's not of me. And most of the time that's true, because we have an heritage of our ancestors, and we get that patterns, or we get the patterns from the people we always said, the people that you are surrounded with, they really have impact on how you see things, how you act on things, and so on. But especially from 0 to 7, a lot is happening in the unconscious mind. What even in our 40s, 50s, 60s can trigger or work out. So that's the first.
Why number 7? Because I read it like there is a scientific reason behind it. Like our bodies and the cells, they undergo some kind of a refresh every 7 years. Yeah. Is it something to do with this?
Yeah. I get goosebumps when you say that, and every time I get goosebumps in my body, it's also then it's really a natural, truthful remark from source. So every 7 years our cells get renewed, but all patterns in life, when you look at studies that I have, that the 7 years is something in relationships, in the stages that we are in our lives. So that's very interesting. So there is a, how do you say it, an evolution line when we, every 7 years something is transforming. And we have also the opportunity or the challenge to renew ourselves. And that's very interesting when we look at medicine or just the natural way of energy, how it works. And we think we have to control things and plan things, but we better can make contact with the flow of energy at the stage in our life when we are in. Yeah. That's interesting that you mentioned that. So this is the first 7 years. And then we go to the second stage, 7 years, 7 till 14, and then you get 21, 28, but it's almost from 7, and I said 7, 11 is also very, because most of the children, they are very free and still in contact with source, and with 11, something is happening, like like a switch is put off, the switch of connecting with source is put off, and then we are reeling in the real big world. And that's an interesting part also, because then things are happening and we become aware of I have another puppet there, and it's not a Matryoshka puppet, but I saw it somewhere here. And this is the shadow, or our Bandit.
Bandit.
It's just, it's always there in every person. It's interesting, because most of the time we like the good person and the bad, we say that. But in the shamanic ancient wisdom says, we all have light and heavy energy. And in our heavy energy we also have our shadows. And every person has his shadows, and in the shadows there are gifts. And the gifts, we have to find them, we have to search for them, we just learn them by accident from my life situations. As I always said, well, you have the stages, so 0, 7, then it comes from 7, 11, you have then the part that says 14, and then you get to the stage of 25, and that's the young adult. And then we get our identity, we think, we love this, we like this. But through all these stages, we also meet our shadow. We got a little bit, like when you have brothers and sisters, look in your family. Some of the persons are very egoistic, or they are the black sheeps, or they call it, they are always doing it differently from the rest of the family. Or they always adapt to the standards, or they are very shy, or they are very outspoken, or they are the artist, or they are the builders, or they are always not fitting into the system. So our soul has a task, and through all these stages we found out what we have to do in this life, but we will meet our shadow. And this is what most of the people want to have under the table, or get it back from ourselves, because we are not proud of that, or we are even ashamed of that, or we feel guilt about what we have done, instead of saying, okay, this also belongs to me, and I'm going to embrace it and just going to face it. And okay, I don't like this. But when I really look at this, I can feel that I have to learn something. I am in this life situation because I'm doing an unconscious pattern, or I'm just doing something conscious, but that's because I'm scared. Or that's because I want to avoid something. Or that's because I want to control something. And I have to learn to get all these layers of my bandit and my shadow, that I have really one kind of energy, what we all have from source, and that's love and light. So we work through the stages from 0 to where we are now.
Yeah.
And every 7 years we get a new stage, and we have child conclusions. And that conclusions that are formed till almost 21 years old, 24 years old, we have most of the conclusions and the patterns we have built. And then from 21, 24 till 42. And I said, that's your final adult stage. And then you go the 7-year circle within. And everything that's not natural, that's not your green light, but it's an obstacle, or it does not work out, it gives you stress, it wants to go out of your system. And then you see that people got in divorce because it's not working out. They are just choosing a total other career, or they are just leaving the place where they were living, starting all over again. And it all has to do with the soul. The soul has a task, and we are learning from life situations. And just to learn that at school from very young. And not to say how it works, but that there's a life path, and everything is there for you, and everything works out for you instead of against you. So where comes the stress from, that we say it has to be otherwise? No, it's in the present moment, like where I'm now, it is what it is. And when my shadow comes there from behind, or it pops up, or I get the shadow from someone else, it's only there to learn me how I get more in touch with myself, in more loving energy, in more life, and then I can follow my road and just offer my gifts and work together with people, and they have their own path, their own shadows. And when we really make connection to that, we can get miracle situations, miracle relationships, magic creations. But we really have to be aware that's all inside of us.
Yeah.
So everything is working out for us instead of against us. And there's one moment that we have that's only in the now. We only have now. And now it's already gone. And now, and now, and now. But most of the time we go back to the past. And we say, oh, but this must not happen, otherwise, and then we go there. And you can see it, how I move my body. I go from there to there, and I will not be here. So when we really exercise conscious, present moment, we are in our bodies, we feel our breath, we feel our heart, we notice the energy, we are open, and we make connection with the other person or the other form there. And then magic can happen. And we call that synchronicity, that we meet kind of people and said, how is that possible? That's such a coincidence. It isn't. Because when we are really in our green traffic light, we go with the flow, everything works out. And when it's red or orange, we have to wait, or we have to learn. Or sometimes we have to go through it. And we can make choices in every moment, at every time again. And then life is such a gift, no matter what the situation is. Yeah, I think that is my most, the message that is most essential every day in every moment to myself when things are happening, but also to other people. And that's what makes the magic also when I'm doing the life coaching. It's not about me. It's not about the other person. It's about opening to the energy that is there and get really into touch in the moment. And then the patterns, they come up, the shadows come up, the tears. I always have this. And I said to people, it's only to comfort when your tears are going, but I'm not going to stop it, because it's the melting of the heart. That's what we need in this world. Yeah. Melting of our hearts to get peace in our own hearts, peace in the world. So when you look at it finally, when I see where I'm right now at 54, I felt yesterday, and even in this moment, that I'm here to bring more peace in my own heart, and from there bring peace in the world. And that's the only message I have to bring. Very simple.
And I think it's the most important thing is to discover yourself. Yeah. And sticking to such awareness whenever, at every possible moment. Yeah, being balanced is a key, I think.
Yeah, and being balanced. That's so interesting that you said that. I wrote a chapter in a book of Erik Seversen. He's a best-selling author in America, in the States. And it's about the Life Coach's Toolkit. And he asked several persons in the world, and he invited me, and I'm very happy that that happened, to write a chapter on the Matryoshka method. That's the way this with the puppets is called, the Matryoshka method. Mm. And the title of the chapter is Meet Me in the Middle. And what it means is really that the Matryoshka puppets are aligned, but I'm also aligned in the middle. And I'm aligned with the energy that is there, the natural flow of energy that's in us. And when we meet each other in the middle, magic is going to happen. So, and everything is already there. Everything is in every person. Even when we have shadows, broken lines, child decisions, and when we meet each other in the middle, in that space, right in the moment, in our middles, it's going to happen. So,
would definitely love to read that chapter once you have that book published. But I have a question for you. Why did you choose to bring the example through Matryoshkas? Would you like to tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, that's my in 22 years of my own practice. I love this story the most because I always said children are first, and it's so important in this world that we really honor the children that are already at the world, our inner child, but also the child that come now to the world. And an 11 years old boy has taught me this method, and it was by accident. To keep it short, this story, there had been an accident in a primary school. He was really bullied by a lot of guys. At one moment he get a task from his teacher to go into the kitchen of the school, and while he was doing his task there, some of the guys that bullied him came in and they started to bully him. And he was really, it happened a lot of times, so there was really something in it. He got hit, and at that point he was just fed up with it, and he got a scissor. And he tried to stab one of the boys, and immediately he felt it was not okay, and the teacher came in, and they all said to him, he did it, he stabbed me. So the teacher got really angry. Every one of us has that kind of situations where we were bullied or were the bullier, and we are all training each other in just letting this kind of fighting behavior or stress behavior, let it go. But what happened? He was suspended from school, and all parents want this young guy to leave school, and he needs to go to a psychiatrist. And at that moment I was at my office. I did not know about the story, and the telephone rang, and I picked up the phone, and I heard a guy, 40 years old, I know him from my coaching office. I heard him kind of almost crying, like, can you help me? Something so out of the situation with one of my children. And I really felt immediately that something was really wrong. So I listened to his story and I said, well, I think I can help, but I first will meet your son and speak with him, just to listen what's going on. I said, at this moment, I'm just going to talk with him. I don't know, but I will see in the moment. That's always what I do. I'm seeing in the moment. So he came in, and at that moment I had something like, well, a young boy, what does it need? Maybe something with cars, with technique, something that we don't go into the mind conversation, but get the attention. And I had some puppets. I just bought them 2 weeks before at the market. They were standing in my office. And he was really shy, and he felt guilty and ashamed. And I said, well, I'm not a judge, I'm not the police, I'm just a human being. I've also been bullied in my life when I was a little girl. So I can feel what you feel. And he looked at me and said, okay, and how do you feel about it? I said, well, I sometimes can feel really sad about that, and also really angry about that. I said, well, I have the same feeling. I said, well, can we have a talk about it? He said, yes. Is there something in the room that can help you? And then he pointed out to the Matryoshkas, and he said, yeah, it reminds me of the situation. And then he showed me that he, as a little boy, was helping his father in his shop. He had a building shop. And a guy came in and he really bullied his father. But his father, yeah, he was, how do you say that, vulnerable, because he needs to sell his stuff. He wanted to be polite, but the guy was really, and the young boy was sitting under the desk. And he felt so much sadness and anger for his parent that the guy was just behaving to his father like that. So he really decided then, that's not okay, and I'm never going to let that happen to myself. But then in school it happened. And in one point he did the same thing as what happened when it happened with his father. He went sitting under the desk, or he did nothing. So he also went inside, but it was like a volcano. He went inside. And at some point, when he get that time bullied in the kitchen, the energy came out like a volcano, and he put out the scissor and he stabbed. And it's never okay to do that. He really knows that. So I worked with him through all of the Matryoshka puppets. Like he was at that age of 11. everything was inside of him, but also the good things, also his soul, also what he needs to learn, also what he had learned before, and also maybe what he needs to learn how to handle this. So he told me through all of the stages what happened and what he could do otherwise, but he also did that for the other guys involved, the bullying guys, but he also saw something with his parents. And I was just listening to him. And I saw what happened. I saw that he came more in his relaxed state. He was regulating his emotions. He was flying over the whole situation and just told what had to be done, what he could do, what was necessary. And that afternoon I would have a conversation with his parents. And I had something like, I'm going to do this also with them. And that was what happened. So he really and that, I think it was one of the most beautiful moments in my whole coaching practice, that I saw a little boy going from shame and guilt, and they are just in our down chakras, and we can live with them for a whole life, and it can be the obstacle in every situation. But that moment, he managed to embrace it, to see also his shadow, because stepping of someone, that's not what we need, and especially when we need a world situation right now, everywhere. We need these kind of situations. Like in Israel and Palestine, without making a choice in that. But fathers on the one side, on the other side, are now losing their children. And I saw a very wise man from one of the sides. I'm not going to say, because I'm not going to choose, because I'm choosing in the middle, and that's peace. Yeah. And he said, I'm now bringing my son to the grave, but on the other party, another father is also bringing his son to the grave. And that has to stop. And this little boy of 11 years old told me, and it might also be an example to the world, how to get the peace back in our hearts, despite what happened, and from that point of peace to meet each other, our own selves in the middle, to meet the other person in the middle, we can go to a situation of peace. So from a very small story, I can feel the link to what's happening now in the world, and it's coming up. Ancient times, ancestry, we are fighting, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But there's some good about it, that we need to let this shadow out of a lot of ancient centuries from our ancestors, what's still in us, even in our cells, even in my cells, and to embrace that and to face it and to work it out and just to feel what we are. Love, light, flowing energy. Wow, it's all coming together also here. I just can feel that.
Yeah, this is also meaningful, and I think it always requires attention in the kind of world we are living in. And I think it has always been important in the past. It's just like we are getting busy with so many things, we don't realize, these things are so important. But coming to that, like if we talk about the having it, in our daily lives, where we can be self-aware. If someone has to stay consistent in their self-awareness day in, day out, what could be like basic steps one can follow to be, aware of the moment, aware of their own self, aware about their self consciousness, you say, or the subconscious mind or the conscious mind, everything, maybe you would like to put some light on that. How to do that?
Love that question. And you said somewhere before it's difficult. It isn't. It's so easy.
Okay.
It's about time, space, and breath. So even now, when I just stop the talking, just bringing my awareness back in my backbone, feeling my body in my chair, my feet on the ground, feeling the energy around me, feeling the energy inside of me, feeling between us. Free attention is the way out of our unconscious patterns. So the way how to do is just stop for a while and focus on a thing. You can do that in meetings. You can do that in every conversation. You can do that in every situation that you are into. Even in stressful situations. I once learned from real wise women. She said it's like the movie The Matrix. Everything is going on. And there are all lines that are happening in our lives. But we don't need to step out of our field. Stay in your own field of energy. And just be aware what's happening. And when you just really get relaxed while things are even stressful things, you can choose what to do. In every moment you have the opportunity to choose what you are doing. And your breath, like when I hold my breath and when I do it conscious, I'm okay. So when I do this in breath work, I can retain my breath for 2.5 minutes without getting into stress. Why? Because I tell myself, I'm okay. I can do it with this breath. But when I get in a stressful situation and I'm not aware of, and I'm doing things, then I'm doing things out of alignment, and then it's not working out. Then it gets even worse. Then accidents are happening. Then we get into a conflict with each other. So the first thing is stop it. And free attention. We only have this moment. So become aware of your breath. Become aware of your gestures. Become aware of your energy. And even when I say this now, I just practice this. And then I get really get the alignment with myself and in connection with the other person. And then there is space and there is freedom and everything can happen in that moment. So stop it. Bring your attention back inside. Focus on your breath. Focus on the energy. Focus on how you are aligned. Wait. And then you have all the space to choose, to create, to withdraw, to put boundaries. And
yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah. I think that's very useful, and it's like a DIY. If you have to remember that. But yeah, thanks again for your time, Miranda. Yeah. It was lovely speaking to you, and I think it almost brings us to the end of this conversation. Yeah, would love to see you in the future episodes with more interesting topics. But before we end, would you like to end this with some message or something that we forgot to mention? Or maybe wrap it up.
Yeah, and it just came up in the present moment. I will thank you for inviting me this, but also that you come from a country, India, from your former ancestors. You're living now in the Netherlands, and I'm living in the Netherlands. Did a project in India, and for me, it started there, where I get so in the way we did things in the Western world. I learned in India how to stop that and how to get more aware of the energy that is there. So it's not a coincidence that we have this energy from both our countries, or how that comes together. And I love this, to express this in this way. So thank you for inviting me.